So the first day in Japan, I flew and we got off the plane and like, it was New Year's. We were told it was a huge celebration in Japan. I didn't really know what that meant. But we go to get off the plane and I just hear a ton of screaming after we get through the terminal. And I couldn't figure out what it was, like what was going on, if it was like a big parade in the street or whatever. But as we got off, the doors opened up and in front of me there was like hundreds of young Japanese girls screaming. And it was kind of scary. I didn't know what was going on. And it turns out there were some like stars from, I think it was Nickelodeon on our plane with us. And they came to Japan for something. And all those people were there to meet them. And like, I couldn't see any of the missionaries that I was with. But there was one really tall elder that was with my mission president standing in the back behind all these short Japanese girls holding a Book of Mormon in the air. So I remember being really confused and kind of scared the first time my first experience with Japanese people. Okay, so the Tokyo South Mission is one of the smallest, it is the smallest mission in Japan. It's one of the smaller missions in the world, and it has over 11 million people in it, so it's really condensed. Lots of big cities. It includes 4 prefectures. There's Yamanashi, Kanagawa, Saitama, and there's some of Tokyo. And just like pieces of those are in my mission boundary, and that's what it consists of. I mean, lots of people, small area. It's a really like close-knit mission. You can see everyone in the mission. You see them quite a bit because it's close enough that you can all get together for mission conferences and stuff like that. It's really close-knit, small mission. So most people you'll run into in the Tokyo, Japan South Mission will be Buddhist or atheist, but most of them will claim they're Buddhist even if they don't follow that religion closely. You'll just meet a lot of those. You'll meet a few people that are Muslim, not very many Christians. The church in Japan is growing. It's actually, there's prophecies about it growing a lot in the future. There's one temple it's not in the mission, but we'll go to it once a transfer, and that's in Hiroo, which is in the Tokyo mission. So there's a temple you're allowed to go to, which is always nice to have as a missionary. It varies depending on the area you're in. Most of my areas were pretty big as far as active members go. We had, I think, like an average size for a ward. Most of them are wards, not branches, so that's good. But an average size is probably from 70 to 100 members. There is a lot of less active members in Japan, especially the Tokyo area. Most of them do not know that they're members of the church, the less active ones, due to something that happened several years back. So drinking is a big one. Pornography is a big one in Japan. And there's a lot of people that smoke as well. Those are like the 3 main challenges you run into. They're pretty good with the law of tithing, actually, when you teach them that. Most people tend to get reasoning behind that, and they accept it pretty quick. I would worry less about the language. I mean, Japanese is a really hard language, and I focused on it a lot when I was an early missionary because I was so bad at it, and I hated it because I couldn't speak to anyone. But I would try to focus less on like learning the language and more on learning how to teach the gospel through the language, if that makes sense. Other than that, I would just realize that it's important to love the people that you serve, because if you don't, in Japan, I mean, you're not going to find success unless you can learn to love those people, which, I mean, it comes. I'm not very good with the church history thing in Japan. I do know when they opened Japan up for missionary work, there's a park in the Tokyo South Mission where like the land was dedicated for missionary work. So an apostle actually came there with some missionaries and they set up the work. They dedicated the land to be prophesied on. It's a pretty cool story. I served from 2013 to 2015, and I was in Sagamihara, Hachioji, Fujisawa, Tokorozawa, and Yamato.